The FPL Good Guys.
There we go. Welcome back, ladies and gents, or indeed, welcome for the first time to the FPL Good Guys. It's just me and Dan today. BV is currently at work, but we thought we'd chuck a little video in now as a nice little bridge in between game weeks 1 and 2. And so essentially the purpose of this podcast is to just have a quick look back at how our game week 1s all went and do a little bit of a preview of game week 2, talk about our transfer plans, and maybe, if we've got a bit of time at the end, discuss the kind of players that are interesting us at present. How are you today, Dan? You doing okay?
Yeah. I'm fucking terrific. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, mate. Not so bad. I'm excited to see the kind of things you got in store for your team for this week. So should we just get into it nice and quickly?
Oh yeah, and you should go first because Joe, for those of you who don't know, had the best week out of all of us last week. He did real well for himself. So we should start positive and then move down to the dross, the basement.
Well, whilst we've got the retention, don't listen when we get to Dan's team. Just switch off. Just sack it off. Why?
Yeah.
Why stick around when you've just got this knobhead to listen to? I'm gonna do this, and then hopefully this is gonna work.
Hopefully, when it gets to me, I know how to share screen because I don't currently.
You've just got to do some interesting stuff essentially, but it should work okay. Right. Okay. Hopefully, we can all see my team there. Can you see my team, Dan, or how does it look for you?
I can see your team. Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is my team, guys.
So we can see how many points it got. How many points did it get? And what's your game week?
So it's a solid 78 points game week 1, which drops me in at 386k. It's just 1 week, so ultimately it doesn't mean masses that I'm at this rank, because the game week rank is the overall rank. So yeah, it's a solid week. It's a good start that I'm very happy with. What's up, Dan?
The average points is 57, so I think I'm average. I thought I was
No, you're bang on average, mate. Well done. No, we'll get to you later. So yeah, here's my team. So essentially what I found this week is that a lot of the sort of 50-50-ish decisions they went my way with regards to Haaland over Kane. Obviously Haaland outperformed Kane, which was handy for me, especially considering the expectation was on Kane to do quite well against Southampton. So now Haaland, not just because he scored, but he's the better pick with regards to fixtures over these next few game weeks. So yeah, having Haaland is something I'm quite happy with. The Kane versus Haaland debate's one that we'll go into a little bit later on, I imagine, Dan. We said we'd go through that.
Yeah. We'll get into that later, don't you worry.
Yeah, but I think my team was really quite template, to be honest. I think the only sort of interesting thing to look at is Rodrigo there in the midfield, who I picked because he had a really quite good pre-season, and Leeds have some excellent fixtures to kick off the season. We've got Southampton next week, which is a fixture I'm quite looking forward to. I'm thinking Rodrigo could hopefully, repeat the goal again. He did only rack up an XG of, I think, like 0.13, which was essentially the only shot he had in the game.
What do you think of Rodrigo versus Aronson, out of interest? Do you know much about Aronson? Obviously, he nearly scored that goal.
He did, and he is 0.5 cheaper as well than Rodrigo. I think it's a very good case for Aronson, in fairness. I think the reason why Rodrigo was such an excellent pick is because he did really well in pre-season. So I was thinking this is a confident guy who's going to pull up and hopefully do well. And I just didn't really like Neto very much. So I went for Rodrigo. I suppose Aronson was unproven. Not that he's proven now after one game of football, but there's definitely a case to be made for Aronson.
I actually saw when I was watching some TikTok, there was some guy who's a Leeds fan and he was like, look, I don't necessarily do all the stats shit or whatever because that's not me. But if you want a differential to Neto, Aronson, he looks great. I think he can do better than Neto over this period. And so he was in my noggin and then I saw that he nearly got a goal. So,
Yeah, honestly, I back it. I do back the Aronson pick. I suppose I'm already on Rodrigo, so it wouldn't make sense for me to pivot that way. But I think if you fellas are looking to bring in a differential asset, I think Leeds is the Leeds midfield especially, maybe even Bamford, is a really excellent place to look right now if you want something to separate yourself and you fancy Leeds early on under Marsh, which I think is another reason I quite like Leeds under Marsh. So yeah,
Well,
so
yeah,
that's
I
the
mean,
Rodrigo
I
pick.
guess one of the big pros for Leeds is the fixtures are phenomenal. You know, they've got exquisite
Yeah,
fixtures. These, Burnley fixtures.
yeah,
So
no, yeah, that's
let's
a big
ask
draw for them.
let's ask you a couple interesting questions, Joe. Is there a player who's the player in your squad you're least sure about keeping? You know, if it was an ideal world, which player have you got your most doubts about currently?
Well, do you know, it's interesting. I mean, yeah, well, I guess, right, so that leads us on to, I suppose, to game week 2. Am I thinking of rolling or doing any transfers or anything? I'll actually just take you down to my bench quickly. See, what I do have is 1 million in the bank. Now,
Rich.
I quite like my team on the whole. Yeah, I've got a nice million in the bank, which allows me to be nice and flexible, which I'm really glad about because I can now make this decision with a bit more information. I don't like Bailey very much. He didn't really do anything against Bournemouth in their first game. I think Villa were just really quite terrible, and Bailey wasn't very influential on the game. But he is only 5 million, which makes him, potentially, positive bench fodder. He might well have a return in him here or there, but he's not someone I'm comfortable starting with every week given Villa's performance. So what I'm thinking of doing is upgrading Neco Williams to Kyle Walker, because he seems to be he's going to be a regular starter for City. A 5 million pound, I say pound, FPL pounds route into the Man City defence is amazing. It's not something we've had for a very long time. I don't care that he probably doesn't have much attacking output. He is playing centrally and more advanced than usual, but ultimately he's not got the greatest attacking output. But yeah, for 5 million, with their great fixtures that they've got, I'm probably going to bring in Kyle Walker for Neco Williams and play him ahead of Bailey this week. Even though Bailey's got quite a good fixture, but I just back Walker over in Bournemouth at home. It seems like a fairly telegraphed clean sheet, and Bailey will then be consigned pretty much to the bench from then on for me.
What do you think
Dan,
about
go ahead.
potentially for those with like Bailey? What do you think about Andreas versus Bailey for the next game? So obviously Fulham, I don't know if you watched the game, but Fulham looked good against Liverpool. They look like at the very least they're going to score a decent amount of goals this season. And obviously Bailey, I also watched the Aston Villa game. Well, I watched most of the second half anyway, and it didn't pass the eye test. Certainly looking out for Bailey, he just didn't seem that involved, and Villa looked a bit flat overall. Now, they do have Everton at home, which is a good fixture. But what do you think of Bailey versus Andreas, even potentially? Because
I think, that actually is a little bit of a challenging decision because Pereira is on set pieces. And honestly, I don't know his XG and XA data against Liverpool. I'd have to pull that up. But I mean, he's on set pieces, and in the position he is on the pitch, you'd imagine there's a decent chance of him getting involved if Fulham are going to score some goals. What is Fulham's fixture, Dan? Sorry, for their next game.
I think it's Wolves.
See if I can
So Wolves could be quite defensive, but I think from what you were saying, you seem to back against Wolves.
Oh, Wolves are terrible. Wolves are terrible. In my opinion, Wolves are absolutely rubbish. That's a decent part of the reason why I brought in Rodrigo. To be honest, I thought he'd do something against Wolves, which he did. I think I'm very happy betting against Wolves. So I think there actually is a decent argument for playing Pereira ahead of Bailey. I think the reason why you might go for Bailey though, if you do have both Bailey and Pereira, is his really good pre-season that he had. You can't judge everything off one game as well. You'd expect Gerrard to want a response from the Villa players, especially against Everton, who were dreadful last season.
And Bailey did
they
play
just
the
looked a
full
bit lethargic
90.
against Chelsea.
And
he did play the full 90. I mean, Pereira played the game as well.
And if you look at the player ratings for the Aston Villa players, there were players who've been rated like lower than Bailey. Bailey wasn't the worst performing player, which means that Gerrard should still start him against Everton at home.
Yeah, no, I mean that shouldn't be what we strive for. It's just to have not the worst player in a 2-0 loss team. But no, I see your point. He's not likely to get dropped, especially after such a good pre-season that he had. So I think probably I'd still edge Bailey over Pereira. There's an argument to be had there, which we've pretty much just had. But no, I'd play Bailey ahead of Pereira, but I'd much rather play. That's a dream fixture. That's the best fixture you could possibly get. So if you don't play him in that game, then you won't play him in any game.
This is what dreams are made
But I'm
of.
thinking of not playing him in that game, to be fair. he's bench fodder for me from now on. I think it's what's likely, but I mean, he could be quite good bench fodder. It remains to be seen. But yeah, that's my team
Some
from
shit
this
out
last week. And yeah, so
some
my
shit out in the
plans
first
are.
podcast. You actually explained what bench fodder was in the first podcast.
Yeah, no, times moved on. We back the viewers. You guys know what we're on about.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going Neco Williams up to Kyle Walker, and then we're going to go for a 5-3-2 and bench Leon Bailey. I think is the plan for next week. So Dan, if you want to run through how you, we'll do you next, Dan, because Barham's not here, and then
Well, one sec. I just
we'll handle
We'll
we'll handle
I'm just seeing
Barham's
if I have any questions still about your team, potentially putting myself in the mind of a
Okay.
viewer. So obviously you're happy with Haaland. Jesus, I take it. I mean, Palace wasn't the game. I take it you're still happy with all your team. Is there any players that you're a little,
There is no part of my mind that wants to get rid of any of my players right now. I think if Jesus, he didn't rack up. I think he racked up 0.14 xG against Palace, but I mean, if you watch the game, he looked excellent. He was nutmegging players left and right, and he was really good on the ball. If Martinelli knew how to really score a very simple chance that he had, then he'd have had an assist as well, Jesus. I think you definitely keep him. Considering Arsenal's fixtures as well, he looks like a really good piece to their attacking puzzle, and I think he could well be a very good option for them. So
okay.
Yeah, I think to be fair, we'll just move on from my team now because I think everyone's nice and template. So let's talk about your team, Dan. I think.
Right, how do I share my screen?
There's also I don't know how it is. It's just share at the bottom. It should be there. Yeah, I don't know about you, Dan. I'm getting a little bit of audio delay, so I mean, I'll stop talking and then it'll be a little while before you do, or I find myself interrupting you by accident. Is it working okay for you? Or?
Oh wait, what? Say what you said again. There's what?
Are you finding there's quite a lot of audio delay? Essentially, is what I said.
I thought there were just a couple times when we spoke over each other, which wasn't preferable, but
so it might be different on your end. I don't know. Right, I'll share a new screen going.
Oh yeah, I've not currently got my screen shared. That should have just worked like
yeah.
One sec, share. Entire screen.
Yeah, that would make sense. You don't have to do your entire screen. Just select the tab.
Nah, fuck that shit. My entire screen.
I love how we've completely shaken the PG, the swearing sort of thing we were going on from the start. This is just gone now. You're effing and you're essing. You're doing everything.
Yeah, as long as you don't say the
absolute
C word,
reprobate.
it's all fair game. What can you see?
I can just see you, I'm afraid.
Oh wait, one sec. Okay, a little bit of not the most streamlined.
Bloody hell!
I'm clicking entire screen.
To be fair, I don't know if any of you will have watched. I don't know if any of you will have watched the last podcast that was just Dan and Baron, but Dan was fucking blowing his nose in the middle of the podcast. His family were walking in. BB. But yeah, no, we're not the most professional unit, but I mean, it's mainly Dan's fault. But it is what it is. Come on, Dan, share your screen.
I'm trying not to have difficulties here. I'm pressing share. I'm genuinely, you're telling me you can't see anything. What about
I
here?
can just see you.
See? Really?
Right. Click. What happens when you click on share?
I've clicked share.
Shall I try and share again? Right. When you click share, does it come up with entire screen, window, and Chrome tab?
Yeah, and then I click entire window, and then I press on share, and then it just goes back here.
And then I click on share.
I'm just going to have to read out my team because we know this isn't...
Can you see my screen now? Dan, can you see my screen when I click share screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah, wow. So when you do share and then you're doing entire screen and then share.
We know we're not cutting this, so I literally have to move on and just read out my team because
No, wait, Dan. No, yeah, I know, but just quickly, can you do the share and then do Chrome tab?
Yeah, I've done
Have you got it
exactly
up
what
on
you're doing.
Chrome, your
Press
team?
share, press entire screen, press share, and then it goes back here. And it's kind of pissing me off, to be honest with you. You know,
Yeah, that
I
is.
don't
Oh,
like
maybe
it.
it's because you're a guest. Hang on, I'm sorry, everybody. This is absolutely shambolic.
Uh,
Right, okay. Can I make guests able to share? Let's see if that's something that's been blocked for whatever reason.
yeah, I mean, I guess this is just some technical differences. I mean, viewers, I mean, you're not watching still. Like, this is just shambolic.
Right, okay. Can we figure out how to cut this later on? Who knows? Right, what you're going to do, Dan, is get your team up on Chrome. Do the share and then Chrome tab and see if it'll work that way.
No, I can't get my team up on Chrome. Not right now. I can get
Why
up on
not?
Safari because I don't
Why can't you
remember
get
my
it up on Chrome?
password. Because I don't remember my password, and Chrome's
Do
asking me
your
for my
FPL
password.
team.
Yeah,
Do your
I can
FPL
click
team.
forgot or whatever, but then that's even more delay. Yes, to my FPL team. But I've got it in Safari because Safari knows me. Safari
God.
knows who I am. So I can't just.
So you don't. So earlier as well, Dan didn't know the password to his own bloody email address. Yes, it's shambolic.
Oh,
Right. How's it
oh,
going?
come on. I just pressed my Safari tab. You've got it. Right.
Or maybe I could get your team up. I'll get your team up. How's that?
Oh, yeah, that's such a sensible idea,
Right. Okay.
yeah. Oh,
1 second,
we
ladies
start.
and gents. We'll be with you shortly. This has to. We have to be able to cut this out. If this doesn't get cut out, I'm so sorry to everyone.
If this doesn't get cut
This.
out, this is a shambolic podcast. It's just awful. We
Right.
started
Okay.
so
Maybe
bright.
we could just do a thing where we could put later on, like skip to this part for Dan's team, or so. Oh, fuck knows. Let's just share the screen. Right. Chrome tab. View
We could
latest
get
Anton
and
game
said
week
it's it.
points.
Or BV, sorry.
Okay, hopefully we should be able to see Dan's team now. Does that work for you, Dan?
Yeah, I'm just sorry for the viewers. Anyway, scroll up. Let's see the overall points. And let's see the overall rank, just to know what we're dealing with. So there we go. I am average. Now, it's not been the
We
best for me,
couldn't.
but now scroll down. Let's see my full team. Come on, scroll down. Let's see my whole team. There we go. There we go. Now, I guess the biggest point of frustration, Kane. Kane against Southampton. And I don't suppose if you know it, but I don't even think he racked up that much XG against
No, he
Southampton. I
didn't.
think I've heard
He
whispers.
racked up an XG of yeah, he racked up an XG of I think 0.12 against Southampton, which is really bad. But he was very like that one shot he did have. I don't know how it got 0.12 XG. It was really quite a big chance. And as well, I can't remember exactly, but did he either score an offside goal or was right next to where an offside goal happened or something? So, yeah, it wasn't totally uninspiring from Kane. He did play quite deep in the game. But yeah, it's not a
But
case of, oh
yeah, I
my God, it
mean,
was terrible. You should get rid of him.
a 4-1, and that's exactly what I've done. A 4-1 scoreline against Southampton. You know, you really hope Southampton, you really hope for Kane to have got a return. Now, I don't even think it's necessarily bad to have kept faith with Kane. I was so close to keeping faith with Kane, but then, Haaland obviously got a brace against West Ham. Now, if we compare them both, Haaland's fixtures are even better than Kane's, and he looked brighter against worst opposition. And, I was still thinking maybe I keep faith with Kane, even though me and Kane have a toxic relationship, because he never performs for me. Don't even, it makes you question why you brought him in. And then I watched the highlights of Haaland against West Ham, the way he won that penalty, so big and so strong and so fast, which is so good for a physical league. Like he's a strong, quick guy. He's a physical beast, Haaland, which is really good for the pace of the Premier League. And then the second one is trademark running in behind, and just overall, I just looked at them highlights and thought, why am I punishing myself by keeping Kane? And then the price rise was coming. I actually rang Joe at like midnight for a little FBL therapy, and then I I brought in Kane, as I'm sure a lot of you did too. There's a lot of us in
Do you
that
mean
camp.
Haaland?
Yeah, the Haaland camp, bringing in Haaland after getting Kane. Now,
Yeah.
I guess that the thing with stuff like this is sometimes you've got to make mistakes, but you've just got to limit your mistakes. Now, another thing to look at, if Kane continues to do well, not continues, but if Kane does well, due to effective ownership, it's a lot less detrimental for you to switch to Haaland. Kane do well better than Haaland than it is if you stick with Kane. Kane doesn't do well and Haaland smashes it because Haaland's ownership's very high. It's very risky, and I think we've just got to take the L against Southampton, and the smart move would be to transfer out, which is what I've done with my free transfer this week, as I'm sure a lot of the Kane owners have. Looking onto it, yeah, I've done Kane to Haaland. Locked it in before the price switch, so I don't lose money.
Nice.
Always nice to keep your money, kids. Now, Bailey, there's a number of these players here, which, surprise, surprise, being on 57 points. There's a number of these players who I'm not the most impressed by in the game week 1, but I guess another thing is you've got one game week's not enough to judge. The way I'm seeing it is, now it'd make more sense if I could roll my transfer, because if Kane to Haaland, if I already had Haaland, what I might do is I might still roll my transfer. For those of you who have, not the best team, but you've got Haaland, because some of the players in game week 2 are going to redeem themselves, and then you can still work on getting rid of the ones that still disappoint. Like Doherty, I went with Doherty because I thought he was a safer bet than Perisic. I just wanted one to start, and he didn't. My hope is, and I know he had that injury like a bit ago, which was a serious injury, which he's coming back from, but he did start some pre-season games, so hopefully Conte starts him next week, because he's going to want his strongest 11 against Chelsea, and Doherty's definitely his first choice right back. And you never know.
The
Chelsea,
issue is
if
fitness, though.
Why do you not think Doherty can start next week?
Well, I mean, he might well do, but I mean, the reason why he didn't start this last week was because of fitness, and it's the same for Perisic as well. So, I mean, yeah, Conte's dream fullbacks would probably be Perisic and Doherty. It's just whether or not they're fit. I mean, Sessegnon did actually play really quite well against Southampton, which means that if Perisic still has some level of question marks over his fitness, he might well still start Sessegnon instead. Though Emerson Royale is a bit rubbish, even though he got 2 assists against Southampton, he is still quite bad. Doherty would be the first pick. Still, it's just whether he's fit or not.
Yeah, I saw the player rating.
He might play.
Yeah, which is what I'm hoping, but I'm not feeling happy about Doherty. It's the Spurs boys. The Spurs boys are always utter dross to watch and support. Every time I supported them, it's just bad.
But that's the thing. They won their game 4-1, and they're going to do well this season. So I wish I had more Spurs players in my team on the face of it, but realistically, none of them are massively attractive assets at the moment, apart from Kane, who just didn't do well this last week. And Kulusevski as well, actually. But I mean, again, his minutes are in question because of Richarlison. So they're all wait and sees really for me at the moment. See if he gets a good 11 sort of regularly playing.
So, do you think, Joe, that asking the FPL expert, do you think
you're meant to be one as well, aren't you?
Yeah. In theory, I am. It's a nice theory, and we'll revisit it when I do better. Do you think that Doherty is worth starting next week, or should I even start Andreas and Neco Williams are both starters?
Well, actually, I think that's a good segue onto Barham's. That's a good segue onto Barham's team. I think that one, because Barham is benching Doherty next week for the game against Chelsea. Sorry, who was your options? Don't play Neco Williams. Probably might well play Pereira.
I just want to say one last thing. We can go into Barham. There's just one player I want to talk about last of all before we go into Barham. Now, Dean Henderson. I think they conceded nearly 2. What?
Was I saying something? What was I saying? I feel like I was saying something.
You were saying about Barham BV benching Doherty. But because you said it's a nice segue onto BV's team, but I just want to continue with one last point, and then we'll go to BV's team.
All right, sorry. Yeah, go on then. I thought I just got straight up interrupted then. I was like, whoa, what the hell, man?
No.
All right, carry on.
Literally inbound to go back to your point.
How do you feel about Dean Henderson? Are you going to stick with him?
Well, I mean, I don't even have a free transfer. I mean, it'd be stupid not to. Plus, I mean, I've sung his praises. I can't just flip-flop after one fucking game. Now, the thing with Dean Henderson, against Newcastle, Forest did concede nearly 2 XG, which isn't great for keeping a clean sheet. But Dean Henderson is a very good keeper. Newcastle, I guess you have to look at it. Newcastle are in fine form. You know, losing like 2-0 to Newcastle, an informed Newcastle side, is it, alarm bells? Probably not. But the one saving grace, Dean Henderson made 7 saves in that last game. He got 2 save points. So even though he conceded 2 and lost an extra point for conceding the second, he still got 3 points because he actually picked up 2 save points. And that's the kind of thing that'll do him justice in the bonus point system too. Like, if West Ham at home, Forest are really up for it, and he keeps a clean sheet, he's probably going to get like 10 points or something. Because, he's got the save points, stuff in the BPS system. But I guess with like a number of my disappointments, I guess Doherty included, even though I'm not loving him, I guess it's you've got to stick faith more than one game week. We'll revisit them after game week 2. Hopefully they won't still disappoint. If they do, then I guess we've really got to look at using that transfer to get rid of them. But yeah, so with the nature of Doherty, BV bench and Doherty, as you said, we can now get back to what you were saying and segue into BV's team.
Well, I mean, I was just going to respond to a couple of things you said there. So, I mean, if you're finding that you're getting disappointed after 2 game weeks, would you say 2 game weeks is enough for sample size to start getting rid of people, or would you not want to wait maybe 4 or 5?
It depends. If the underlying stats also look dire, then I'd say you cut your losses. If they've either had just a little bit of bad luck, or you can see just a couple of 50-50s didn't go their way, or their underlying stats are okay, you've got to kind of also use your intuition, I reckon, to judge it. Because if a player's not got returns in 2 game weeks, that's going to happen. Even the best players are going to go consecutive game weeks without returning. But if they're not involved in play, their minutes are at risk, or just their underlying stats are disappointing, and if the fixtures swing, then it gets a little more ugly, and you've probably just got to cut your losses. But obviously, there's nuances, I'd say.
Fair play. Right, shall we move on to a Mr. BV?
Yeah.
I think that's the first time I've remembered to say his name properly this whole time. Right, okay, so BV obviously isn't present with us today, but what he has kindly done for us, he sacrificed about 30 seconds to a minute of his time to give us a brief rundown of things. So we've got a voice message.
Note. Oh, yeah. Now, as a disclaimer, we were going to do this last night, but Joe fell asleep at 9 and never woke up until nearly 6 a.m. And BV wasn't planned to be with us last night because he was at the pub in London. And so he was a little wavy when he sent this voice note, but we haven't actually seen it yet, so we're going to react to it for the first time. One sec, just testing my facilities, aka that the speaker's loud enough. Joe, are you there? Okay, yep, that's loud and on. Joe, you having problems? Oh, wait, oh, God. Right, so folks, I'm not sure if anything's happening with Joe. Oh, is he back?
Right, okay, there we go. Yeah, sorry, for some reason it said my computer was just slacking, essentially. But I'm back. Sorry, what's going on, man? What were you saying? Have you got the voice note ready to go?
Yeah, I was just saying as a disclaimer, you were unconscious. We were going to do this last night, but then you became unconscious at 9 p.m, woke up at nearly 6 a.m. BV wasn't going to do it with us anyway because he was drinking at the pub, which probably isn't the most professional. But on this voice note that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, no, apologies if this is a day late, fellas. I did pass out at 9 p.m. yesterday. I don't know what happened, to be honest. It was weird. I was just knackered.
Right, are we ready? Right.
Oh, that sounded like me. Right, okay. Make that a bit louder if you could, Dan.
Right, are we ready?
All right. This is so professional. Yeah, let's go.
Hello, this is Baron coming in live from the London pub urinal. So my team this week is Captain Haaland. Of course, there's no other choice, no matter what the others have said so far. And yeah, I benched Doherty. I know it's a talking point against Chelsea, out of all people. I mean, come on, we don't really need to go through my team that much. It's basically set in stone. There's no other option. I'm going to roll the transfer, and next week I'll probably actually take a hit. Currently, this week I'm dreading how last week I came on this pod with Kulusevski in my team, and if I carried on with that, I'd pretty much be top 500k right now. But I sit at 1.1 mil, and that's a RIP for me. But anyway, I'm about 5 pints down, and I don't give a shit. So, see you all later. Goodbye. Happy podding.
Right, well, insightful as ever.
Well, I love how he kicked off his voice note by saying the name that he doesn't want mentioned on this podcast.
Just as he's in the yawn. Now, I love how he also
Of the
said
London pub.
I love how he said about benching Doherty, which he said it will be a talking point, but then he said, we don't really need to discuss it or whatever. It's pretty set in stone. And I'm thinking, what the hell?
No, we didn't talk about captaincy for next week, actually. We didn't really talk about next week very much. So what are you thinking, then? Captain Haaland or Salah?
Haaland, Bournemouth at home. Plus, it's just a safe option. I just want to put the fucking armband on Haaland and just feel free.
Do you not think there's any sort of rotation risk there? And as well, Salah scored in his last 7 meetings with Crystal Palace.
Well, yeah, to be honest, there might be rotation risk with Haaland. And to be fair, I really wouldn't be surprised if Haaland disappointed. To be honest with you, you know what's going to happen? Kane might even outscore Haaland. And do you know why Kane's going to do that? Because I got rid of Kane. I'm in a little toxic relationship, because Kane punishes me. I keep faith because last season I had 6 blanks in a row and I kept faith. But I've got rid of Kane, and now what he's going to do, like the fucking toxic little bitch, is he's going to score, he's going to outscore Haaland, Haaland's going to get benched, and then he's going to be like, oh, look what you could have had if you stuck with me. But then if I rush back to him, then he'd blank again, because that's what he does. I have no time for people like Kane.
Well, that feels like quite an emotional argument, Dan. We want to be dealing in facts and stats. You know what I mean? We can't sit there and just whine and say, "Oh, he's just going to do it. That's just what's going to happen." No, I think to be fair, on the predicted points, I think the FPL review predicted points actually put Salah on 7.8 points for this week and Haaland on 7.3. So if you were just going to base it off that, then Captain Salah makes more sense. Obviously, we've only got one competitive Premier League game to deal with Haaland with, whereas Salah's obviously got years of brilliance behind him. It's Crystal Palace at home, which is a fixture which Salah has done well with over the last few years. Obviously, with the same fixture last year, Crystal Palace at home, he got a goal and an assist. I believe that was under Vieira. So, I mean, obviously, that's relevant information because it's against Vieira. And so I think there is a really good case for captaining Salah ahead of Haaland. So it's a little bit of a flip-flop for me. I'm not sure which one to go for. But, I mean, like you say, Haaland did just look so impressive against West Ham away. And City were just completely on top in that game. So it's difficult to pick Salah.
If we both captained Salah and BV captained Haaland, chances are Haaland would outperform, because when it's me and you that both captain someone and BV captain someone else, I swear we're just sat there together, just in disappointment. Like last season that happened.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, infamously me in the past, I'm terrible at picking captains. Like it's lost hundreds of points for me across prior FPL seasons. I mean, last season I wasn't too bad. I think I lost to BV captain wise by I can't remember, not many points. It wasn't too bad. Whereas in previous seasons I've been hundreds of points behind just on captains. So yeah, don't trust my captain opinions too much, I wouldn't say. But yeah, I'm debating between Haaland and Salah. Essentially, it's tougher than.
Do you reckon
I think a lot of people are set on Haaland very easily, but it's a bit of a tougher decision for me.
Do you reckon Haaland will definitely start against Bournemouth?
I don't think definitely. There is a world where he doesn't start. I think if Guardiola wants to wrap him in cotton wool a little bit, or
honestly, I'm half set up for disappointment.
But, I mean, yeah,
I guess the thing that swings it is that Haaland is safer. a lot of people are going to captain Haaland. So if you just want to be a little coward, which isn't a bad move, I might be being a little coward. Just captain Haaland because it's just safer. You won't get hurt as much. Because even if he disappoints, there's so many people in the boat. And if everyone loses,
I don't think that effective ownership will be like Haaland and Salah's effective ownership. I don't think it'll be wildly different. It'll favour Haaland, but I think a lot of people have Salah and a lot of people are going to captain him. So I don't think it's as bad as a killer as you might think it would be. But a lot of the knowledgeable fellas, the people we'll end up competing with by the time the season made a bit of progression, will captain Haaland probably. So yeah, I am leaning Haaland in honesty, but I've not ruled Salah out essentially. Barham said he's captain Haaland and there's no other choice, is what Barham said. But I'll half back Salah, I think. So we'll. For God's sake. It's a 50-50 BV and the other name. it's like it's bloody Voldemort. We just can't say it, but we just keep saying it. We just keep saying it. We can't help it.
Yeah.
He who shall not be named. Maybe we should just call him that instead. Just call him Voldemort.
Oh yeah, I'd do it. It is interesting that he benched Doherty. I mean, I guess it's something to think about. I mean, to be fair though, realistically, we don't need to talk too much about Doherty because he's owned by 1% of players. Like the viewers, this is not a relatable problem.
Well, no, because I think quite a lot of the people that will be engaging with FPL content, more of them will have Doherty than you think. Because he wasn't a wildly popular pick, but he was in a few people's teams that are active on the game. So I don't think. I mean, you both have Doherty, for example.
Perisic is a popular pick, though, and yeah, kids, Sessegnon may start next game. But Sessegnon did all right, and Perisic still also has problems. But then again, Conte might start him because he wants his most favourable team against a tough fixture like Chelsea. Essentially, what I'm saying is I don't really know the answers. I wish I did. Trust me. Pray to God that I did.
Epic analysis from the FPL good guys tells you all you need to know. we just don't know. Essentially, is what we've concluded there. Brilliant. No, I think if you've got Perisic, you probably keep him, but don't buy him if you don't. Essentially, because Sessegnon made a good statement for himself against Southampton. So if Perisic doesn't play this next game, if Conte declares Perisic has good fitness and still doesn't play him, I think at that stage you think about, especially because he's fairly expensive in that defenders bracket, I think you think about benching him or maybe moving him on because he does lock up a bit of money and those defensive spots are very valuable.
And I guess realistically when it's a case of like the night before or just a bit before the deadline, look on the Premier League news sites, look at the predicted starting 11s. If a lot of them are even saying Perisic, Doherty or your guy, play him. If not, just stick him on the bench because he's just going to disappoint you. Why not whack on an Andreas if he's not going to start? You don't want a 1 point off the bench. But look at the news sites just before the deadline. I love how essentially what I'm saying is I don't know the answers. Look at other content sources before the deadline.
Why are you watching us, mate? Go and use some other resources. Oh, God. No, I think as well, Conte's shown that he's very willing to rotate his fullbacks. We know that from previous seasons, and especially now with 5 subs. I don't think they're great investments, the Spurs fullbacks. I think if you've already got them, then use, as Dan says, the other resources to find out more information. Just look at Conte's press conferences. That's not other resources. Look at Conte's press conferences in the lead up to the game. And see if he speaks on Perisic and Doherty a lot, because that's going to be the most accurate information. But what we know now is it's a maybe. So see what he says. Right. So I think that covers mine, Dan and Barham's teams and sort of a couple of our thoughts. Our final, for God's sake, the final segment that we're going to do, just to sort of wrap it up, is just some players that have interested us over game week 1, or just generally are looking promising over the next few weeks, and just sort of give a few reasons why we like those players. So Dan, if you want to take the floor, and then I'll pick it up.
Oh yeah, I can do. I mean, one player I do actually like. I like Mitrovic, man. I'm impressed by him. I watched that Liverpool Fulham game, and it's the reason why I said Andreas. And Mitrovic is just obviously a much better version of Andreas. I mean, no shit, he's more expensive. He's their main man. He's the one who scored like God knows how many goals in the Championship last season. um, a lot. That's how much he scored.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fulham, they're on it. You know, they're attacking. I'm not saying their sheets are going to be clean. You know, it might get a little down and dirty, but you know, Mitrovic is here to score goals, and it looks like he's going to get him because Fulham, they've just got an intensity and energy. The way they press, the way they're fluid. You know, they could really do some damage to some teams. So keep them on your watch list because you probably have pressing priorities right now because with Haaland, if you've got Kane and got him out, you've probably gone to Haaland or there's probably some area you're going to fix. But honestly, and Jesus, you're probably not going to get rid of yet because it's only been one game. But yeah, keep him on your watch list. What about you, Joe? Who are you?
Well, I mean, Mitrovic scored 43 goals in the Championship last season, which is almost a goal a game, which is obviously exceptional. So that obviously there's some attractiveness there, but there is obviously you're going to score less goals in the Championship, the Premier League rather than the Championship, not the other way around. I think there's a big case to be made for that just being one game. I mean, just to think over the last few seasons, Liverpool's opening fixtures have been often been against like newly promoted teams like Leeds and Norwich, and they've been like 4-3s. I think they've all been 4-3, or at least
I mean, to be fair though, when they played against Leeds, isn't that the same season Bamford went on to get 17 goals? Because Leeds scored quite a lot that season.
That is true. That's true. But I mean, maybe Mitrovic will do the same. You never know. But I'm less optimistic about Fulham now as I was about Leeds then. I think they could well get shown up and they just had a good day.
I'm just going to put out a tasty little prediction that you can come back to because I'm quite confident in this. This ballpark, Mitrovic, I want to say 17 Premier League goals this season. 15 plus.
You said,
I'm going with 17.
You said
17.
This is... Yeah. Well, you said this was something you were quite confident about and then thought about what you were going to say. Oh god, yeah, no, all right, fair play. I don't think so. I disagree with that. I think he probably won't stay fit for one, but I think he won't stay fit, and this won't be. I don't think will be a theme of Fulham. I mean, just because they got a draw against Liverpool doesn't mean they're now automatically title challengers.
Oh yeah, if he stays fit,
they're going to be scrapping out at the bottom of the table.
17 goals. If he doesn't stay fit, this is not.
So Dan, it's a 2-2 against Liverpool. Essentially, that doesn't render them title challengers just because they've matched the team that were right at the top at the end of last season.
But I'm just going. My God, it's a good sign. Watch the space. Is what I'm saying. Keep him on your.
I mean, he's already 2 on the way there. To be fair, it was a good performance by Fulham, and yeah, you're right. They were, they came out of the blocks flying. So we'll see how that goes for them. I've got, to be honest, if you check out the Instagram, the FPL Good Guys Instagram, a little plug there. I've already done a similar post on this.
Or even the Good Guys FBL TikTok, as those same players, I also posted Joe's ones to watch on there too. So for the TikTok.
Yeah, just to clarify, we kind of messed. Well, I say we. Dan messed up our sort of username. So on Instagram we are the FPL Good Guys, and on TikTok we're the Good Guys FPL. Just to clarify, cheers Dan for that, by the way.
Down the line to the FPL Good Guys, like when I can in like a month, it'll get changed.
Yeah, but not now, or not now. Don't confuse people. But yeah, no, essentially that's it. So I've got 5 players, so I'll just rattle them off. So Pascal Gross, obviously he scored 2 goals against Man United, so it seems a little bit knee-jerky to bring him in. But he's threatened for a long time now to be quite a consistent and good point scorer in FPL. He created the 3rd most chances per 90 in the whole league last season. He's in the 98th percentile for chances created per 90 across all of Europe's big 5 leagues, like the midfielders, which is obviously exceptional. And a large reason why that's sort of not been converted into FPL points is Brighton infamously don't really finish their chances very well. So yeah, he's quite a creative player, which I think plays in favour of him, and he does quite well in the predicted points so far this season. If you were to look at some of the resources that produce that sort of stuff, like FPL Review. As well, I mean, if he brings some more goal threat to his game, he arrived in lovely positions against Manchester United, if any of you watched that game. Or even if he didn't, I'm just telling you. He arrived in good positions at the back post, which is where both of his goals come from, which wasn't usually a feature of his game last season. But if he starts to combine that with his creative output, I think Pascal Gross could be a wonderful player for you to toss in your teams. Next one, Miguel Almiron. Had a great pre-season, 6 goals, 2 assists. He racked up 0.6 XG in his 80 minutes against Forest, which is promising. You know, you're back to maybe get a return in amongst there on another day. And at 5 million, if you don't have Bailey and you want to go down to a 5 million player, you pick Almiron ahead of Bailey these days because he's producing a lot of XG, XGI rather, not XG.
But isn't there
as well? We've got Sterling, who.
Isn't there a point to say that just with Almiron, because, I may as well pick your brain while you're rattling off these names, some people might have concerns that he's just a bit shit. Like, it doesn't matter if he gets XG, because he can't really he runs around, he's a workhorse. Well, what do you have to say to those people? Do you just reckon if there's enough stars, he'll just do it?
It's a good point. He has proven to be a bit rubbish in the past, but I mean, what we've seen in pre-season is 6 goals and 2 assists, which is, a conversion of those opportunities. So I mean, that's obviously promising. And as well in this first game against Forest, his XGI, I meant to say, not XG of 0.6, shows that he's likely to do something, which isn't something he did before. The issue with Almiron before is that he wasn't even getting in those positions really. Like, his XGI was quite bad. But the fact he's now getting in those positions, he's actually not been bad. I mean, in pre-season he's been very good. So yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. And as well, he's only 5 mil. He's only 5 mil. You're not getting him and captaining him or anything. He's only 5 million, so you'll probably bench him most of the time, which you will because they've got Man City and Liverpool in the next 4.
I guess you back Howe to, Howe's a good coach and he's doing well with Newcastle. I guess, it's not unreasonable to think that he can prove Almiron. The good coaches improve players. So, it's not out of the, what could be foreseen to think that Howe can improve Almiron. So, and if this output, this XGI is new, that wasn't in his game previously, then that is promising. If it always was kind of in his game, then it's probably a red herring. But as it looks, that does look like something to consider. But yeah, anyway, continue.
Well, and as well, at 5 million, I mean, you won't play him most of the time. He's got Man City and Liverpool in his next 4, and in and around them, they have got quite good fixtures, so you can stick him on the pitch for those ones. So yeah, I'm optimistic about Almiron. I think he could be a cheeky little pick at 5 million. I think he's probably the best one at 5 million. Bailey, no. Dewsbury Hall scored a cracking goal, to be fair, but I mean, he's not going to score those every week. So yeah, I think you go for Almiron at 5 million if any of you are looking at that price point. Raheem Sterling is another one that was on my watch list. I've gone Sterling because he just looked okay against Everton. I mean, yeah, that was him trying to win a pen. To be fair, not only did he go over, he also tried to look kind of paying for the ref. So maybe he'd pick a pen. But no, I mean, Sterling looked all right in that game. Chelsea were absolutely rubbish overall. So I mean, obviously that's not a positive thing to have a player that's in a team that looked rubbish. But you'd expect Chelsea to pick up form at some stage, and Sterling tended to be involved in a lot of their moves. He nearly followed. I think he looked quite good for an offside opportunity. He nearly won that penalty, as we mentioned, and generally he was in quite good positions for a lot of the game. So I think if Chelsea pick up some form, Sterling's likely to be in the mix for some returns, I reckon. So Sterling's on the watch list. I think he's at an annoying price point. He is really quite expensive, but maybe for something like a free hit, or if he does pick up consistent returns in the future, I think he's a worthwhile player to have a gander at. But we'll see how that shakes out. Should I just? I've got a couple more. I can keep going, or I'm wasting a bit of time here.
Keep going.
I think just 2 more. I guess I'll have a selection. I've got a selection of 5. So yeah, just 2 more. We got Gabriel from Arsenal. I really like Gabriel. I really wish I'd have actually picked him ahead of Ramsdale. Well, not really, but I wouldn't have minded picking him ahead of Ramsdale because the next 4 fixtures are 2 promoted teams, so Fulham and Bournemouth. So you'd expect probably one at least clean sheet out of those 2. And as well, the other 2 games are Leicester and Palace. Now, Leicester and Palace are the 20th and 15th worst teams in the Premier League last year for goals conceded from set pieces, respectively. So Gabriel is a bit of a monster in the air, so that's where something he can really excel at. So I'd expect him to get maybe a goal from a set piece across those 4 games, and hopefully a couple of bloody clean sheets in there as well. So I think Gabriel's quite a nice pick over those next 4. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, personally, I actually, because I'm currently tripled up on Arsenal attack, Jesus, Martinelli and Saka. Now, when you consider Jesus is the one that pretty much everyone owns, so, if we'll assume that's the given, that's the one you have. Martinelli and Saka. Martinelli, you and BV also have him, so you know he's good for that. He looks good for that 6 million price point. Now, the third player I have is Saka, whereas these two both have Ramsdale. Now, especially Leicester at home, Leicester quite like conceding. These next few game weeks, I'm actually quite happy with the Arsenal boys. Crystal Palace away. I mean, I actually earmarked that as a tough game. Crystal Palace away, especially Arsenal. First game of the season. You could easily have pictured Arsenal doing an Arsenal thing and losing that 1-0 or drawing 1-1. But the fixtures do look promising. So I am actually saying now, I really wouldn't be surprised if, this triple up I've got going on, well, fingers crossed, because I don't want to tempt fate, but I'm looking forward to see what it can do. I think Saka's definitely got a lot of value, which I think he's going to show in the coming game weeks. But so I guess there's a lot of good Arsenal assets across the board, and maybe it's a case of, you can only go 3 of them. Perhaps you do go 2 attackers in 1 defender as a safer bet. But I actually think, in my opinion, that 3 Arsenal attackers, the Martinelli, Jesus, Saka. I mean, obviously, wait and see about Jesus, but I think Martinelli and Saka, I think they're going to do real good things. So I think having both of them can be a real good shout.
Yeah, no, I mean, the triple up in attack, I think if you were to look at each of those picks in terms of their price points, I think the Arsenal triple up would almost make sense sort of individually. If you were to pick an 8 mil midfielder, Saka's probably up there as one of the best ones. But I think the risk you've got of having all 3 is that if they do have an off day, then you've got no points from 3 of your attacking players, and as well they'll take returns off each other. So say in a 2-0 win, they probably won't all return. Whereas a 2-0 win is pretty solid. I mean, if you just have
they
Saka,
might,
for
to be
example,
fair, because
in a 2-0 win,
each goal is 2
likely.
returns. In a 2-0 win,
yeah, but I
I'd
mean,
actually
you want some holes.
Return.
Yeah, but then that's.
But I mean, that's the thing.
Well, I don't know. It's not likely.
If you back the Arteta project realistically, because that's the thing, you don't have Saka, but Saka individually could easily go on to do bits. And if he does bits, sure, you've got Martinelli and Jesus, but you ain't getting the Saka points. That's so you kind of wish you had them. Now, if Arsenal score 3 goals, say against, not the best opposition, and if you back what Arteta's doing and you back Arsenal, if they score 3 goals, all 3 players could realistically get 10 plus points, because Odegaard's more an assist of the assist man. I mean, 3 goals is actually 6 returns, because 3 assists, 3 goals, which means if they were all to share them, and maybe some other Donny gets one of the 6 returns, then realistically, one player gets, because you've got all the front 3, one player gets 2 returns, probably gets double-digit points. Another player gets 2 returns, double-digit points, and maybe the other guy gets 6 or something. So, and then obviously, yes, some games they won't perform, but you're balancing it out when they do.
I don't know. I think that's hopeful, Dan, to think that the 3 players that you've got will get 87.5% of the returns of the goals that Arsenal get. I mean, that's, you said like 5 out of the 6 returns. That's 87.5, right? Or 86.6 or whatever. I don't know, whatever. Or 83.3? Whatever. Yeah, that's very hopeful.
I don't think it is, because you've got the whole forward line. If all 3 are starting, and you've got it's like Liverpool, back in the day, Mane, Salah and Firmino.
We got Trent, Robbo, their centre-backs. The midfield even chip in sometimes. I think the front 3 would probably only get 60 or 70% of their returns, and that's Liverpool's front 3. Arsenal are at least a bit more fluid. I'm actually going to have to get my battery for my laptop. I mean, Odegaard, as you say, he creates quite a lot of chances, so that's some assists there. Gabriel will bosh in a few headers. There's crosses in from the fullbacks. Xhaka will score a worldie every now and again. So I think you are a bit hopeful looking at 87.5%. I think the triple up's risky, essentially, because if Arsenal do go through a streak of bad form, then you've got 3 players that you don't want in your team.
If
But I suppose you're
Arsenal were
banking on
going,
them doing well because they've got good
if
games.
Arsenal were going through a streak of bad form, I'd sooner sell Jesus. Martinelli's cheap, so he's good value for his price. And Saka just looks like a real good player. Saka, out of your players who are going to get returns, I was just saying, Joe, if any of them like you were going to get rid of, if they were going through bad form, I'd probably say it's Jesus. Martinelli's good for his price, good value. A 6 million player you don't expect to return every week. It's 6 million. And Saka, I'm just saying this, Saka's not going to be your problem. He's gonna do well regardless. So if he is going to do well regardless, you're only stabbing yourself in the back, not getting him in. But we'll see. But I'm just saying, certainly Jesus, we'll see what he does because of his past record. He can be a bit flaky. But certainly if I'm looking at Saka, in these stretch of game weeks, Saka's going to do well. I have full confidence in that in the next, few 3, 4, 5 game weeks. But
well, fair enough. That's a bold claim. I mean, a lot of people have gone without Saka. People have favoured Jesus over Saka massively, and they're both the same price, albeit at different positions. And people have backed Saka over Jesus, even though he's still a midfielder, and the goals that he does get are worth more points. People have backed Jesus, so people think Jesus is going to outscore Saka, but your worry is on Jesus, so that's interesting. That's a different.
If I did have a worry, Jesus, I've not got a worry on yet. I'm fine within my team, especially with the high ownership. But I can just say one thing: I am not worried about Saka. Saka's great, man.
Wow. Oh, fair play. I mean, to be fair, he actually looked a bit rubbish against Palace, I thought, to be honest. He's lucky to get any return because it got headed in by a blooming defender from Crystal Palace. But also, Jesus didn't look like returning apart from that Martinelli chance early in the game. So, it's a decent argument, and we'll see how it plays out for you. So, I think we've looked at Arsenal there, and then just my one more player that I had is Wilf Zaha, who racked up an XGI of 0.89 against Arsenal, despite not getting any returns in the game. Most of those XGI coming from expected assists rather, so people weren't able to finish their dinner, unfortunately. But the main thing, that's good for Zaha is the Anderson big sweeping diagonals, which he bashed out the whole game with loads of success. And so on another day, you can just imagine Anderson sending these big long diagonals over to Zaha, who was able to bring it down, and he's left in a one-on-one situation with a fullback. And he didn't quite manage it against Arsenal, but you can imagine the cut inside and smash into the far corner, which he's done on so many occasions. So I quite like Zaha. His fixtures aren't great at the moment. I know his fixtures are excellent between 12 and 19, game weeks 12 and 19. So I think he's a great option then. But I do think you can think about him now, especially at that 7 million price point where there's not really anyone else. Zaha, big one to watch for me. I'm a fan of him. I think he could do really quite well.
Yeah, I mean, he did get, like you said in your posts, he got 14 goals last season, 14 goals and 2 assists, 150 points. His best performing point season for FPL ever, which I think can easily go under the radar with a player like Zaha, because you think, he's got trickery, he can win a good foul, he can score the good goal, but he's not necessarily always a reliable FPL asset, so you can kind of just get him out your brain, not really think about him. But he performed well last season, which shows that he's got it in his locker, because 150 points for that kind of price point, 7 mil, that's very good. If he can replicate that again, chances are there's going to be some point in the season you might want him, even though I know I didn't even really think about him last season because, he's the kind of player you can overlook because he's not consistent enough. So, if there's this link-up play with Anderson and, if he can, he's definitely one to look out for based on what you said. But yes, Palace don't have good fixtures at the minute, so it's not going to be something that you probably want to get right away. But keep an eye out. Yeah, I agree.
Cool. Right. Okay. I think that covers everything. Ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. Hopefully, BV will cut out the middle section. And if you're thinking, what middle section? Then that's beautiful. If you know what we're on about, then that's not good.
Well, to be fair, we might be able to do it now. I mean, we'll see what the editing system's like. You know, maybe we can
I guess
maybe we can manage
try
it.
and be competent. You know, we don't need BV to do every time, I guess.
Yeah, there's no promises on that. But no, if you've made it this far somehow, thank you all very much for watching. If you're still here,
And also, you know, not that you're still here, but like we've got a subscriber now. You, the first fan. Wow, thank you so much for subscribing. That seems like
yeah,
nice.
big up, man.
You know, big up. You
Yeah,
know,
it means
really,
a lot.
you know. Yeah, because every follow, it's like on like the TikTok or whatever. Whenever I see like a follower notification, you know, I almost have an urge to want to just send a direct message if I could, just thanking them for subscribing. I don't, but you know, I read it's like wow. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's something as well. I mean, we've noted, you know, a good increase in views on the Instagram and the TikTok, as we mentioned earlier. So make sure to follow those if you haven't already. But if you've come here from those, thanks ever so much for coming. We're going to continue uploading these podcasts for better or for worse over the season.
Every game week.
So every game week there'll be a podcast and maybe some other interesting videos in between those as well, like Dan's goalkeeper one. If you've not checked that one out, please do go ahead. But yeah, no, stay tuned, subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. Thanks very much for watching. We've been the FPL Good Guys, and we will see you very soon. Bye bye.